Hello there! I was gonna say my normal intro of being like, hello, Zoo Crew, but I guess this isn't actually aimed towards Zoo Crews. So, this is aimed towards anyone who likes blue, you dirty, dirty blue players. Um, I've been testing Retreat to Coralhelm for a while. That's my main focus for like Magic for the past, I don't know, forever. And I'm pretty much guaranteed to tell you now at this point that I don't like the BANT version as much as I like the Naya version. Now, that could be to do with the fact that I'm not the greatest at making BANT decks. I'm pretty good. I'm probably better than your average player at making BANT decks, but I will definitely concede to anyone who's been forcing BANT for the last, like, I don't know, however long you want to force BANT for, that they are probably better BANT deck builder than I am. I've worked with BANT before. I do, aquarium zoo brews, so it's not like I don't know the options. I'm just not sure which are the greatest options. However, I have turned to smarter people than I and seen some versions of Collected Company BANT and tried to do the same thing I did with Zoo, which was take Collected Company Zoo and figure out what the best cuts would be to shoehorn in 3 to 4 Retreat to Coralhelm. I decided to shoehorn in 4 Retreat to Coralhelm because in the BANT version, I think it's way more necessary that you find that combo. Uh, and I think it's way more necessary that you start scrying. The reason why I say that is because the BANT version overall feels less powerful than just the Naya Zoo version. It's worth it to mention that the BANT version might be stronger in a different metagame, but in the modern metagame where everything's so proactive and so fast, it's definitely, I think, better to have a clock and to force that clock and then also have an option to go infinite, much in the same way that decks like Twin do. Although Twin does it a little bit in reverse. They would rather go infinite, but then could present a clock as well. Getting too far in myself. That's what I think is the better version. However, that being said, there is a niche that this BANT version fills. The BANT version is pretty good against the combo games. I'm actually relatively surprised. I've beaten Living End pretty easily. I've beaten Eggs pretty easily. I've beaten Storm pretty easily with this deck. It does present a pretty good clock as well, but it's definitely not nearly as fast as the Zoo clock. This clock really starts around turn 3, 4, 5 is when it starts getting powerful. 5 is when it starts getting powerful, I should say, which is about a turn too late in Modern's metagame. Regardless, it's a weird little brew. I tried out a bunch of different Retreat to Coralhelm collected companies, and you might be thinking, well, why aren't you just using Snapcaster and not using collected company? Because the Snapcaster decks are not good with red, without red. That's just putting it out there right now. If you think that the deck is good with Snapcaster and no red, you are wrong. The snap, bolt, snap, and snap is it charm and stuff like that, those are all way better options than anything that's like snap path snap. Um, and so Collected Company is one of the reasons why BANT went from a tier no tier deck, to a tier, maybe tier 2-ish deck. Maybe a tier 2.5. Collected Company is just way too strong to cut. Not going to do it. So I looked into Collected Company's BANTs, and I found a kind of cool one. And it's not really super known, but it uses like Flicker Wisp and Eternal Witness as like your big points of things. See, I was trying to force in sort of a 3 CMC beatdown plan with BANT, which again is my Zoo training kicking in. But it wasn't as good. I couldn't get it to work. It just was basically bad Zoo. So I went a different route, and this is a lot weirder and better. It's way more resilient. So you got 2 Birds of Paradise. Let's just start with the lowest CMCs. 2 Birds of Paradise, 4 Noble Hierarchs. These are your 1-drops aside from 4 Path to Exile. Path to Exile is a necessary thing in this deck. If you're not running Path to Exile, you need to run 4 Path to Exile. That's just the way it rolls here. I would even want to have maybe some Sunlance in the sideboard. So those are your one drops, and those are your easy things to start with. Obviously, the 4 Noble Hierarch, because Noble Hierarch, it's not until you start really playing with Noble Hierarch do you find how just leagues stronger Noble Hierarch is than Birds of Paradise. So Noble Hierarch is, these are your mana ramps. I decided on 6 rather than 8. A lot of people were running 8, and that's because I've got a little less 3 drops than some of those people. But 6 seemed like the correct number to me. Now, you probably could go to 8, but it's just tough to cut certain things out, because if you go to 8, you're going to start cutting out either core sort of disruption spells like Collect a Company and Path to Exile. Collect a Company is a disruption spell in this deck. Or you start taking out like the beat sticks, which I don't think I want to do either. Your Blade Splicer is one of your best beat sticks you can do. Not the Splicer himself, but what she splices, the golem. Being able to put that out there for some early game pressure, and also being able to block that first strike is very relevant. Is worth noting. 3 toughness kind of sucks, but at least you're left with, if they bolt your blade, your golem, you're left with a golem. So that's fine, and then you can flicker it again, so he's still got options. Eternal Witness brings things back from the graveyard. In most experiences, I have reserved it to either bring back a path, bring back a land, or bring back Collect a Company. That's its main job, is to bring back Collect a Company. If I could fit a 4th, I would, but I think 3 is probably the correct number to have. Flicker Wisp is 4 of, and yes, this was reversed beforehand. This was 4 Eternal Witnesses and 3 Flicker Wisps. There's way more targets for Flicker Wisp than there is for Eternal Witness. I said for Eternal Witness that we had about 3 targets that I usually hit. With Flicker Wisp, it's Eternal Witness, Blade Splicer, Kitchen Finks, Night of the Reliquary, Voice of Resurgence, and lands as well. Flicker Wisp is even better in this deck than it was in the normal BANT, because flickering a land lets you get an extra Collected Company trigger. It's fantastic. Or, Retreat to Coralhelm trigger. So we got 2 Kitchen Finks. I cut down on Kitchen Finks. It was 3. I cut down to 2 to fit in the Retreat to Coralhelm. I had to cut a lot of 3 drops. But it does its job. And I wouldn't do Rock's Warmonk because I'm running things like Flicker Wisps, so it's better. Neither Reliquary, that's your combo. Qasali Pride Mage, that's going to be just a Hate Bear. And I opted for Qasali Pride Mage over Ooze because I generally have this mana more available. I could definitely add some Oozes to the sideboard. I have 1 in there right now, but I probably could add more if I wanted. And Pride Mage has just been so far the best Hate Bear to have all around. Because Voice actually affects a lot of the same matchups where Ooze is good. The Junk Jund matchups, as well as the different blue deck matchups. And Voice is just your general beat stick that you can use, and you can also use it for blockers because the deck is a little slower. Retreat to Coralhelm, again, I said 4 of because it's necessary. 4 of Collect a Company because it's necessary. 4 Path to Exile. So the land base here is not completely solid. It could be changed. There could be an extra step added in if you really wanted to, but then you'd have to take off the Galvany Township. The Galvany Township is my most recent addition to the deck, because I felt like sometimes I had a lot of mana and nothing to do with it, especially if I didn't have ways to recur Collect a Company. In this deck, you do play Collect a Company around 3 to 4 times, even with only 1 Collect a Company in hand. So Galvany is great, especially if you Collect a Company into things like Birds to Paradise and stuff like that. Also, it allows you an out for when you don't have the combo, and there are situations where against like a deck that might take long, like Control or Twin, where you know that your chances of using Knight to win the game, aka Beat Stick win the game, is small because they probably have a Terminate in hand. So instead, you just leave it for value, and then in response to their Terminate, if you can't, well, if you might attack with it or something, you might not have a way to get your Sinjiri Step. So what you're going to want to get is a value land instead. So you'll get a Galvany, and you'll win the game with Galvany Township instead of Knight. So you'll be trading, basically, they'll be trading a removal for your Knight, but you get a Galvany Township out of the deal, so you start wrecking face with that Galvany Township, making your everything a threat rather than just your knight. That's what you do with Zoo as well with the Keswick Wolf run occasionally. So moving right along, where Galvany Township also has a little trick here, where with Retreat to Coralhelm's out, you can actually untap your mana dorks and really easily get your Galvany triggers off. You'll notice I have some weird mana base. I'm using things like Canopy Vista. It's because I don't want to take damage in this deck. This deck, unlike Zoo, where I'm very okay with taking damage because I'm dishing out that much damage, if not more, this deck does not dish out that much damage quickly. It's exponential in its damage output, where turn 5, 6, 7 it starts exploding in damage, but before that it's not doing very much at all. So I want to take as less damage as possible, so I'm not like a dog to aggro matchups. And so far I found that this mana base works fine for me. You just need to go for basics. Always go for basics with your fetch lands first before you go for anything else. So far the entire deck really is green-white, so I don't really need blue all that much, which you'll notice there is a distinct lack of islands. That was purposeful. I don't know if that's correct. Don't quote me on it, but you could probably add an island. It's just that this land base is tight at this point. So I got a Rogue's Passage in there to allow me for the combo to win. I could theoretically put an island in here and side out the Rogue's Passage when I also side out the combo, and add in a Plains, or maybe even Galvany Township could be in the sideboard, and when I side out the Rogue's Passage, I side in the Galvany Township. Those are options. And one Sajiri Step, just because that's to protect your combo. I don't think having 2 is correct. Sideboard, I'm going to be honest with you, I have no clue what's going on here. No clue. None whatsoever. I like the Vendilion Click. I really like the Meddling Mage. I think there should probably be more Meddling Mages in there. I really like the Aven Mind Sensor. I actually switched to Aven Mind Sensor in my Zoo deck as well. Core Firewalkers are probably necessary, and Reclamation Sage, I probably run those, and Oozes as well. Dramakis Command, I don't know if it's necessary. The United Will, I think, is probably worth keeping in the sideboard, however. So, I don't know. Some of the stuff could get cut, maybe the Burton Forge Tender, I don't know. But I was just making a variety of options to hit with Collected Company so I could test things out. I'm going to be honest with you, after today, I'm not going to be testing this list out at all anymore. I'm only going to be strictly doing the zoo testing, just because I think the Zoo is the better version of it. Also, that's where my expertise is, so that's where my opinion's going to matter more. But I wanted to make this video, put it out there. I'm going to play one more match after this. So that way, people who are better at BANT than I can take this and mess with it around. Do stuff with it. And by all means, let me know. I want to keep in the loop. If you find some beautiful combination of creatures that in this BANT shell that I don't, then go for it. Keep me in the loop, because I want to test it. But this is as far as I'm going to take this build. This is, I'd say, I did a rough draft before this. Then I did a finished build of the BANT. Then I did a tweaked finished version of that build, and then I scrapped that build completely. Then I did this version of the build as a rough draft just to test it out to see if it worked. It worked, so I tweaked it and I made a finished version, and this would be my second finished version of this build. So it's about 3 iterations in, with a couple different versions of BANT prior, so that I could get my feet wet with it. So I'd say this is probably pretty solid at this point. We're gonna start out with this path. This Plains. This man is a little weird to get used to, because I'm using the Tango lands instead of the Shock lands, and there's actually just, I'm learning there's different rules that apply to them. You want to put out your basics. You also can crack on your turn. It's not that hard, because you're not taking any damage for it. So if you're in like a land, if you're like in a land 2-1 and can't block, okay. If you're in a land pinch, you can do that. So it's weird to be like putting out basics and just doing my mana a little differently. Like now I can still path here and stuff. Um, but yeah, my mana base is pretty painless at this point, which is cool. It's cool. It's actually really good. Galvany Township is probably what I'm gonna get next. Unless I have the combo to just go off. No, Path of Exile does not give me the combo to go off. Galvany Township costs 5. Just gonna float some mana here. Yes, that's the correct amount. Get rid of Temple Garden. View library, bring out our Galvany Township. Oh yeah, it doesn't use 5. It actually uses that much, so I floated too many. Let's do this. And I can bring back any land if I really want to, but I don't want to. Put a 1+1 counter on everything. And power and toughness, increase power and toughness. Boom. 6/6 anyways. And we're just gonna go swinging because he can't block with anything, and I have paths. So he can't block with anything, so he's gonna lose a ton of life anyways. And we're gonna call it a day. So yeah, the Galvany Township is a pretty good thing to bring in this. Yep, and that's just going to be the game. So that was the beatdown of the deck. As you can see, it flips pretty quickly. He didn't really interact with me very much, so I couldn't really show off like when I collect a company and start chaining the collected company with the Eternal Witnesses, but that's possible. We're going to move right into another game. But also it's cool because after sideboard, you can become like very silver bullety. Because of things like getting Vendilion clicks, getting even Mind Sensors, more Pride Mages, more Reclamation Sages, more Scavenging Oozes, whatnot. I think that's probably the way to go with this deck. Maybe more so and just have better Silver Bullets instead of like Burton Forge Tender, which I guess is alright off of a collected company actually now I'm thinking about it. But I don't know what the correct version is, so that's just that. But yeah, collect a company in this deck is crazy good. It's super good because you can find yourself things. Maybe a Dauntless Escort would be really good because you can collect a company in response to removal. Maybe find yourself a Dauntless Escort and then sacrifice it to keep Knight alive. Or like you could, I wouldn't, but you could against wipes theoretically. Cast Collected Company, find the Dauntless Escort, sack it before the wipe resolves, so that way all your creatures survive through a wipe. These are certain things that you can do. Cha-cha-chow. Gain our life back and call it a day. Alright, we've staved off the attack. Seems great. Let's go ahead and attack. Cool. Just gonna, since I've got several Flicker Wisps now. Flicker Wisp it. What has he got, a counterspell? He left in counterspells? It's pretty bad. Swing in there for 3. Second main, go ahead and just Eternal Witness back my Flicker Wisp. Pop that Flicker Wisp back in my hand. I can just win by gaining life every turn, I think. I still can block next turn. Second main phase. Let's go ahead and just Yeah, we'll just Flicker Wisp here. Gain 2 life, and call it a day. Which is fine. Sure. If he attacks with his Master, I actually am in pretty great shape here. You know, I love explaining stuff to people about this kind of thing. Yeah, see, I gotta explain that. Alright, so image dies. Alright, fine. Whatever, that's fine with me. Could have double blocked, but you didn't let me do it. That's fine. Flooded Strand? Sure. We'll attack out this way. And second main phase, we'll pass the turn. So at any point in time, we could put down Blade Splicer and start blocking with that or adding more stuff. I actually am just aiming to Flicker Wisp more Kitchen Fink stuff. I can Path to Exile, instant speed, and also pay for it now with this. So I pretty much got this in the bag. Sure, Master seems perfectly fine. I'll just take 3 damage. And I'll path out this Master. View library. Go ahead and get myself a Canopy Vista. Remand is pretty terrible versus me, but sure. Now, there's a little trick I can do to keep this Master out for a while. I think I might pull the trigger on it. Let's see what I got. Can actually flicker my forest, which will make my spreading seas fall off as well. I've got a lot of options with this Flicker Wisp. It turns out it's really good. I could flicker the Flicker Wisp after I attack as well, and then that'll make my seas fall, or make my seas fall off. Those are options. Those are all great options here. I could also just flicker for the win if I really wanted to. So I guess we'll just, you know, flicker for the win. Sure. I guess we can do that too. That's boring. But yeah, that's what Flicker Wisp does. Some cool stuff. Alright, we won the roll. This is an alright hand. It's got 1.5 the combo, which is kind of what I need to finish up this video. So I'm willing to keep it, even though not the best hand in the world. Alright, so I get to keep the combo. Cool. That's what I prefer anyways. So, sure. Oh, you're a discard deck, huh? That's less fun for me. But we'll stick retreat out there ahead of time. I'm going to actually take... I don't want to take the life. I want to buy myself some time. I'll use this, and I'll get myself a forest. Oh, crap. Yeah, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. I can get myself a prairie stream. Ta-da! and still manage to not take too much life. There we go. We both have enchantments out now, buddy. That's cute. Yeah, retreat to Coralhelm. That's exactly what I want to see. I'm actually going to put Flooded Strand out, which is going to let me view a land in my library, and I want to move that to the bottom of my library. Then I'm going to go ahead and Flicker Wisp, choosing my land. I'm going to end. I'll put my land back into play, and I'm going to go ahead and scry 1 again. Eternal Witness, is that what I want? I don't want Eternal Witness. Move that to the bottom of the library. Pass the turn. Completely. Go ahead and view library now. Grab myself another Prairie Stream. Should I grab myself a forest? Something with foresty in it. Canopy Vista. And that'll let me scry 1 again, and Collected Company is great. So sure. I will play my forest, letting me scry 1 again. I'm going to move that to the bottom of my library, just to make room so that I can 100% do something with my manas. 6. Kitchen Finks is a definite, as is Flicker Wisp. These guys move to bottom of library. I'm gonna point that over here. Gain 2 life, and flicker it. End of turn. Put it back into play. Gain 2 life. This will slow my bleeding down at any rate. I'm gonna have no cards in hand in a minute. So without like a Burning Inquiry, he's not gonna be able to just totally win the game here. Anyways, so now Lily's gonna die. We're gonna go ahead and scry 1. Cool, keep that knight at the top so we can just win this game with the combo. And swing. Sure, that kind of stinks, but is doable. Cast my knight and pass the turn. So I'm going to need to get my Pride Mage out. And as long as I can get my Pride Mage out, I can still win this game. I think I'm going to go ahead and Knight combo here. So let's just go ahead and pop this up. View my library. Alright. And we're going to grab things like a... see, this is where Keswick Wolf Run would be really good. But we're gonna go low on life. If he gets at any point in time, if he gets a Burning Inquiry at any point in time, we lose the game. That's just the way it's gonna go. There's no real ifs, ands, or buts about that. We're going to use a scry trigger. Let's go ahead and just use this as a trigger. So I'm going to shortcut this a little bit. If you guys want to see what everything's happening, you can check out my rules video that I put out. That'd be the easiest way to do it. And we're going to get ourselves a Windswept Heath. So I can get a Canopy Vista out. Lose a life. And tap that. We're going to float a white mana, I suppose, so that we can get ourselves out another mana. And what we're going to grab this time is probably Galvany Township. Now, Rogue's Passage is what we're going to grab, just so that way there's no confusion. And what that's going to do is now we're going to be able to scry one on top. No, we want to go ahead and put that to the bottom of the library. And then scry another one on top. Noble Hierarch is alright because that actually goes under a bridge. So we'll take it. Leave that on top. Take out some of our mana. We'll go ahead and collect a company now. And we did end up getting the Pride Mage just like we wanted, as well as Noble Hierarch. Move to bottom of the library, and I guess he left the game and didn't let us win. I think that knight was big enough to win at any rate. So there you go. There's your combo. It's so good it makes Cockatrice die. That's how good it is. Yay. So as you can see, the combo also lets you do things like get really good collected companies. If you noticed, collected company normally hits twice, maybe if you're lucky 3 times, but with that collected company I revealed 6 cards and 5 of them were dudes. It's because my deck had no lands in it whatsoever. So I knew that after going after the combo just a little bit, I'd thin my deck down to almost no lands, and then after that I'd also have been able to scry a couple times and get stuff like the Path to Exile out of the way. So I'd definitely make sure that I would hit, and I might get my Qasali Pride Mage. Qasali Pride Mage is actually in the deck mostly because of things like Ensnaring Bridge. So I knew I was going to get that eventually. If I didn't get it the first time around, I would have been able to very likely get an Eternal Witness, pop it back into my hand, next turn around, try again with the Qasali Pride Mage. Regardless, I could have been able to swing for 1 damage with my Exalted Trigger that I knew that I left on top for that specific reason, with something like a Birds of Paradise. So yeah, this is a really good one. You got to see the combo. You got to see how Collected Company really does. You didn't see me chain any Collected Companies, but you did see Flicker Wisp do its job, and that was what I think was important to show in this deck. So I think if you're going to go ahead and make a BANT version, make something like this. I definitely would like to have something more like counterspelly, like, oh, off collected, like, let me see if about that. Collect a company in response to your spell. Oh, I found a counterspell creature. I guess Mystic Snake, even though Mystic Snake doesn't get hit by collected company. And boom, you could do stuff like that. I feel like that would be something that the deck needs to be like tier 1. And I don't think it's quite as strong as the Zoo one. But here's a basis for you guys to start off on, and hopefully you can take it from there. Thanks for watching, guys, and comment, rate, subscribe. Go ahead and subscribe if you want to see more of the retreat on to Coralhelm videos that I'm going to be putting out sooner or later, actually on MTGO. And definitely shoot me some feedback. I want to hear about it.